Hey there, everybody. Eric Chesson, founder of Autism Fitness, leading the movement for movement. Happy New Year. We're in 2023, and now is a better time than ever before to become part of the movement for movement and become an Autism Fitness certified pro, whether you are a parent or professional, to deliver fitness programs, adapted PE programs, movement programs that truly work for the neurodiverse individuals in your life. So speaking of that, because there is such a wide array of neurodiversity, and with that, different levels of physical, adaptive, and cognitive abilities, what I wanted to bring you in this edition of Tuesday Training, and I apologize for the echo here and in the middle of doing some floor demo here in the office. I want to show you three different squat patterns from three very different athletes, and a couple of very important points that are going to be demonstrated here. Point number one is there is no such thing as an autism-specific exercise. They're just exercises. Point number two is an exercise is a tool, and the way that we utilize that tool towards the athlete's current level of ability is going to be the differentiating factor in that exercise being meaningful and functional for that athlete. And then finally, point number three, or thing number three here, is that when we focus on basic motor patterns, basic strengthening exercises, push, pull, press, carry, locomotion, good things will happen. Of course, that is a broad term, but good things in terms of increasing motor planning, increasing strength and stability, all of the things that we're generally looking for when we're developing a strength and conditioning and fitness program for anybody, but specifically for the autism and neurodiverse population. So from here, I am going to open up my screen. I'm going to show you one athlete who I have squatting here. Let's do the screen share. Boom. So one athlete, and when we look at squatting patterns, the goal is for the athlete to be able to squat below parallel, and oftentimes that's not going to happen initially, and it'll take a while. However, the challenge that we have is we cannot and will not, as a fundamental tenet of autism fitness programming, allow a situation in which the athlete begins to compensate through the movement pattern. So here we have an athlete who, this is a common and helpful and effective practice of elevating the squat. So we're reducing the range of motion and allowing the athlete and enabling the athlete to squat through the current healthy range of motion that he has here, using the hip flexors. You see a little forward tilt here. So we're still working on that forward tilt as well, but one more time from here. So we're getting better hip flexion, better functioning from, or better firing from that posterior chain, right? So that squat is going to benefit that athlete. And keep in mind, this is just from the physical perspective right now. We also have to look at the adaptive and cognitive with each athlete. So our second athlete, we're going to look at his squat pattern here. And you'll note he's squatting lower than our first athlete. So you have a difference in physical functioning. He's setting up. Again, both athletes are independent at the level of ability that they're at right now. You see this athlete has more stability, more control, more depth right now. Same exact exercise, right? We're using a box, we're using a pad. This is a box squat. And see here, as he goes a little bit faster, the movement starts to break down a little bit as well. So this is important to note, but we see greater hip flexion and greater strength throughout that full range of motion. So that's athlete number two. Now, oftentimes, of course, with the autism and neurodiverse population, not only are we dealing with some of the physical challenges, but the adaptive or motivational challenges and cognitive challenges. Of course, the cognitive challenges are going to be both the neuromuscular and the neurological, right? And if you're involved in the Autism Fitness Level 1 certification, then you've certainly learned about this. If you're not, well, the link is in the description below. 2023 is a good year to start. Now, let's take a look at athlete number three when he's starting his squats here. So the squat depth here is not so much the issue. We have an athlete who has a significant latency, and this is more on the adaptive and cognitive side, between squatting to the box. Here, this is the big difference between squatting to a box and sitting on a box. So we have to look at the effectiveness of the exercise right here. Right? It's not going to be effective until we actually get a squat pattern. So squatting down and then just sitting there is not going to be the most helpful. So you can see that there's a longer latency for this athlete between standing and then squatting down and standing back up. So we're still coaching this movement at a basic fundamental level for this particular athlete. Again, same movement. It's a box squat that we saw with the other two athletes. This athlete needs a lot more support from the coach. That's why we have the band. That's why we have the elevated box. From a hip flexion perspective, from a physical perspective, he can get down to about parallel with the support of the band. We always want to keep the band at parallel. That's something you'll get in the Autism Fitness Level 1 certification. We see definitely the feet could certainly be more rooted to the floor. So another goal that we're working on here, all these things count and they're all meaningful and they can all lead our athlete to greater success in this exercise, which will then of course generalize to activities of daily living. So you see with this athlete, there's a much longer latency between repetitions. So eventually what we want to do is focus more on getting cleaner, faster, not too fast, because we want control throughout the entire range of motion, throughout the entire set, but a shorter latency or duration in between repetitions, because that's where the exercise is really going to become hugely beneficial for that athlete. So again, if you get nothing else from this video, it's not about having a huge array of different exercises. It's not about, well, we can't do this exercise, so we have to have a different one for this athlete. Same fundamental exercises, but understanding and knowing how to progress or modify the exercise towards the physical, adaptive, and cognitive needs of each athlete is where we are going to have the most powerful coaching and programming abilities. And of course, in order to know that, again, link in the description below, it is time for you to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro. This year, we return to in-person, so you have the option, yes, the choice, whether you want to do your virtual hands-on practical or your in-person hands-on practical. You can get all that information and even more when you visit autismfitness.com. So first video of Tuesday training for 2023. I'm happy and excited to be bringing it back to you. And that's what we got for this edition. I'm Eric Chesson, founder of Autism Fitness, leading the movement for movement. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. And thank you for sharing.